Stop playing with them, ooh.
Hi, I'm Nicola Cairncross. Welcome to my podcast. This is where we talk about entrepreneurship, digital marketing, being a digital nomad, and much, much more. I really hope you enjoy the show. Activity versus impact. Are you sharing content on social media as part of your marketing efforts for your business? If so, you're not alone. According to Google, in 2021, 91% of small businesses use social media, a significant increase from 86% in 2020. 63% of small business owners report that social media marketing was effective for their business. According to the Content Marketing Institute, CMI, 73% of business-to-business marketers and 70% of business-to-consumer marketers use content marketing as part of their overall marketing strategy. 97% of marketers surveyed by SEMrush achieved success with their content marketing in 2023. That's pretty astonishing to me, as I can remember the very beginning of it all, with email marketing in 1995, 1996. Trying to get even medium-sized businesses to consider having a website was pretty hard work. So we're now convinced that using social media marketing is effective, and content marketing even more so. But how do we know whether our content marketing works as a small business without all the fancy tracking and measuring tools that the big boys have at their disposal? How do we know which bits of our content marketing works on which platform to drive traffic, leads, and sales? There's a real danger of going down a content marketing rabbit hole that you never actually find your way out of. I know that rabbit hole is real because I'm a techie. I love tech, and I've often been guilty of setting up all the tracking and conversion tech for my own business at the expense of creating any content to share. So I'd advise keeping it really, really simple in the early days. Let's focus on your activity before we move on to the impact you're having. Work out where you need to start and get cracking. Here's a quick checklist for you to measure your content marketing against. Are you creating content that connects with your customers in some way? Are you sharing it on social media? Are you sharing something at least once a day? Are you getting traffic to your website? Google Analytics will tell you. How much traffic? If it's under 1,000 visitors or users a day, you need to crank it up. Are any of them opting in to download your gift or discount offer? What percentage? Are your website visitors seeing your offer page? Again, analytics will tell you. Is anyone buying? What percentage are buying? What does it cost to get a visitor to your website? That's the total marketing spend divided by visitors. What does each visitor cost you? What does each buyer cost you? How much profit do you make per visitor? How much profit do you make per buyer? Go down the list until you can't say yes wholeheartedly or tell me how much. That's where you need to start. I can help you with that. Book into my diary for a quick chat about your marketing today. Of course, all of this activity is better than no activity, and tracking your conversions is one way of measuring the impact your marketing is having. In a future post, I'll talk about refining the impact your content marketing is having. Make sure you subscribe to my newsletter or opt in for a free gift at the website at nicolacairnext.com so that you don't miss that. Don't be nice. When I choose a coach or a mentor, I want someone straight talking. I don't want any beating around the bush. I want to save time, cut to the chase, and get to the point so that I can take action. I don't want you to be nice to me. I want you to tell me what I need to hear. That usually means working with a man. Most men of my experience find it impossible to be direct in relationships, but in business it comes a bit easier. That said, I have had 3 remarkable female coach and mentors. In The Art of Passing the Buck, I read, perhaps one of the most important things good mentors should have is tough love, the ability to tell you in a strong but caring way that you must change. You, on the other hand, must have enough brains to comprehend the message and do something about it. Your ability to humbly accept correction without undue upset will earn you respect. My clients say that my no-nonsense style, my straight talking, attract them to me. They say that they want what I want in a mentor: direct communication, clear instructions, and obvious experience. Sometimes I have to politely cut them short on our calls as they go round the houses, often trying to give me some endless reason why they could not do what we had agreed they would do. They are shortchanging themselves by using 20 words where one would do. It's only their business that's suffering from endless excuses. The trick I find is to ask permission before asking a piercing question, sharing a bolt from the blue insight, or delivering some very direct advice. I'll say something along the lines of, I have a thought on that topic. Do I have your permission to just say it without worrying about being nice? Or would you prefer I use some cotton wool? Being direct is not being horrid. Being direct is more kind in the long run. Although many of the snowflakes around at the moment would have you believe otherwise. There's a lot of playing nice without being honest going on at the moment. I hate that. So if you're the kind of person who wants radical honesty to save time, cut to the chase, and get to the point so that I can ask my best questions, give my best advice, and share my experience with you, do get in touch. I may not be nice, but I will be kind, and I'll always ask permission. Are you an emotional entrepreneur? The main problem with social media marketing is that you have to actually go on to social media to share your posts. Sitting down to write my blog post for the week, I was disturbed by a notification that someone I know, someone who I thought of as a friend, had made a comment about me in one of the groups I run. I won't go into details, but it was in response to a question a new member had asked. It called me a name in public, we've just topped 5,000 members, that I felt was wholly unjustified. It took a good half an hour to sort things out, deleting her comment and those following. I don't leave nasty conversations in the group ever. And then sorting out the minor issue that the first person was talking about. There are better ways to start a bank holiday, rainy as it is, and for generating the flow of creativity required to write 4 blog posts in one sitting. As I was making coffee, waiting for my feelings to subside, I noticed a post on Twitter by Jeff Berwick. Most people won't get this. Even people who say they get it probably don't fully get it. There is only one thing you need to do. Not fix the world, not fix your family, not fix your friends. Conquer your biggest opponent, your own mind. It's the thing creating every problem you have. Jeff is a great thinker, and he's overcome a lot of negative things in his life, including the recent loss of his beloved little dog Lucy, so he knows of which he speaks. He's 100% right about getting control of your mind. I was right in the middle of trying to do just that. I had to overcome the problem of my heightened emotions before I could sit down and write my blog posts. What does he recommend for getting control? Meditation. Now, before you poo-poo it, I must say that I could not make myself meditate until I was about 45, when I discovered it had been scientifically proven that all great thinkers and creative types meditated in some form or other. It was also proven by brain scans of many different kinds of people that to grow the size of the brain's frontal cortex while shrinking the amygdala, responsible for the flight, fight, or freeze response. My co-podcast host, Judith Morgan, recommended Paul McKenna's Change Your Life in 7 Days book to me, which came with some downloadable guided meditations, 2 of which got me started. I still recommend them to people who can't meditate by just concentrating on their breathing, a method I've now graduated to and can swap into in seconds. My feelings dominated my teenage and early adult years. Nobody in my family had any tools to help me deal with the emotional storms that would rage through me, although my nan had a bit more of a phlegmatic approach to life looking back. She used to say, go to sleep, things always feel better in the morning. And indeed, they do. When awful things happened at home, it affected my ability to perform at work and vice versa. If only I'd known back then that reminding myself of the simple phrase, this too will pass, would help so much. My black and white thinking made me think that what I was feeling now would last forever. I got my daughter a poster for her bedroom wall saying just that when she turned 10 and things were getting stormy. She says now that it really helped. Are you an emotional entrepreneur? Why not try downloading a guided meditation and listening to it whenever you feel rough? 10 minutes should do it, and you don't have to lie down. Just sit in a quiet place with your phone and a pair of earbuds, relax and chill out. It will make you so much more effective as an entrepreneur, and you'll make much better decisions. That woman just apologised in public, by the way. By then, I'd calmed down enough that I could accept her apology immediately. So peace reigns in our group again. And I got this blog post out of it, so that's a real result. And now I'm going to share an interview with one of my mentors. It's part 1 of 5 parts, and you can check out the other 4 parts on my YouTube channel at Nicola Cairncross. I really hope you enjoy it as much as I did. So welcome to the call, Andy. I mean, we haven't spoken, I've interviewed loads of times, but we haven't spoken about you for quite a long time, have we? We do calls together about what's going on in the world, but it's been a long time.
I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, I'll do this out of protest, but I'm doing it for you.
I know, and I deeply appreciate it. And so for the benefit of people who don't know, I mean, I've got a couple of interviews with you on my YouTube channel already, so do go and look those up, people, and I'll put links in the description below. But for people who don't know you, can you give us a bit of an overview? And I really want to focus on the entrepreneurial side of your psychology, if you like.
Okie dokie, if I can. Yeah, never really fitted in that well at school. Was always trying to make money, selling all sorts of things, from, smoke bombs, stink bombs, running a lottery, hiring out illicit magazines, shall we say.
Oh, were you?
Yes, all sorts of, my mate's dad had a big stack of those. And so, yes, that was multiple visits to the headmaster's office, nearly kicked out of the school. Yeah, sort of didn't really gel with the school education too much. I sort of fitted in because my dad was a teacher. And so he more or less said, look, you've got to fit in. You've got to not make me look bad. So yeah. I put the effort in there for him and that sort of thing. But it was just a few years, and I knew how good school life was, and I think I was the only person at school going, I'd rather be staying at school than going out into the real world. It's far easier.
I didn't know that about you. You've never said that before, that you were trying to make more money as a very young person. What prompted that? Was it just the fun of the thrill of the chase, or was it that you were not well off, or what do you think?
Yeah, I came from a normal household. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich, and it was just, I saw opportunity to make money. And so I kept taking it, and kept being told I wasn't allowed to do that, and I wasn't supposed to do these things. And, couldn't I just go back to studying the lessons I was supposed to do? Because I was quite good at maths and that sort of thing. So maths and history were 2 of my favourite subjects. So I was just a bit of a fish out of water, and I couldn't understand why other people weren't doing exactly the same sort of thing as me.
The history's interesting because I've got a theory developing on history for later on. So you enjoyed it. You didn't really fit in, but you were able to. You've got a very sharp wit, so I imagine that made you quite popular at school. So you left school with a pot of capital that you'd accumulated, or did you spend it as fast as you earned it?
No, I had saved some money because I was a paper round butcher's boy as well, sort of thing. So I'd take up odd jobs, do whatever I could to make money, clean cars, cut grass occasionally. But it was not a lot of money. And I wanted to go straight into business, and my mum said to me, "No, you can't do that. You've got to go and learn a trade." So, what do I mean, learn a trade? She says, "Well, when you go and mess it up in business, you can always fall back on your trade." And it was like, it actually sounded logical at the time. So she got me into, I was particularly good at woodwork. So she got me to go and get an apprenticeship as a cabinet maker, which I thoroughly enjoyed, but was never going to get me rich. So that was pretty much a non-starter.
And you had a bit of a pivotal moment, didn't you, with another relative?
Yeah, I was very lucky. At the age of 13, I think I was on holiday at my uncle's home down in the New Forest, and it was a great uncle. He wasn't actually my uncle, and he'd done a lot of things, but he was a futures oil broker, and he worked for Shell, and he'd made a lot of money, multi-millionaire, and this was in the 70s. And he called me to one side one day, and he said to me and my brother, he asked us a series of questions. My brother answered them one way and I answered them another. And he promptly gave my brother, he gave my brother a £5 and told him to go and buy himself a nice lolly or something. And I was a bit gutted because a £5 was a heck of a lot of money at the time. He said, "I'm going to give you something much more valuable. I'm going to tell you your future." He says, "You've got almost everything you need to be an entrepreneur, run businesses, manage people and that sort of thing. But you've got a few things missing. Don't worry. People will come to you throughout your life that can give you the bits that you're missing, and just learn to watch out for them. They'll have a sign on them. You'll know them when you see them." And sure enough, I did.
Amazing. That is such an incredible thing looking back, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So you went off to your apprenticeships, and I think there were a series of them, weren't there? Because
Yeah, I did multiple different, worked at multiple different companies, finished a full 3-year apprenticeship at one, went straight into another company, and I was on piecework there. At one stage, there was 50 odd people in the factory, and I was producing 49% of the factory's output because I
wow.
was quite good at turning it into a trade, turning out the work. Then I went into double glazing, worked for, I don't know, 21 different firms, learning that. Then set up my own double glazing business with a good friend. About 3 years, I think I was 21 at the time. No, I might have been 23. I might have been 23. Yeah, I was 23 at the time. I think it was. We set up our
Very
first.
young to set up your own manufacturing company because that's a big
No,
investment.
we didn't. We didn't manufacture until.
Okay.
When was that? About. I must have been nearly 30 when we started manufacturing.
And did your friend who you went into business with have a sign on him?
Yeah, absolutely. It was in. I met him in the martial arts, and I was teaching this girl how to do some kicks, and a door opened behind me, and I swung round, and I just had a funny feeling I was supposed to know this guy. And that was it.
It's like a jolt of energy, isn't it? When you see people like that, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've learned to tune into it now, and and I now use it as part of my process. And you know, people have a sign on their heads, and it means that you're able to avoid a lot of mistakes. You know, don't get me wrong. There's times when I've had the feeling and not bothered to follow it, and I've paid the price.
Okay, so you go into business, and you've told me many funny stories about the business you were in and things that went wrong there. But from an entrepreneurial point of view, did you know that there were different kinds of businesses you could have gone into, business models you could have chosen, or did you just go with what fell at your feet kind of thing, the first idea that came at you, or was there a plan?
Oh no, it was the plan was to get rich. That was the plan. It just so happened that I was particularly good with windows, doors, conservatories, and that sort of thing, building works. And so we thought, my friend was one of the world's best salesmen, in my opinion. So we had most of what was needed to run a business. We didn't know how to add up, and we weren't particularly good on that side of things, but we were extremely energetic, even though I say it myself, a little bit clever, and we had we had a lot of drive, and we both wanted to get rich, and we thought that business was the way to do it. I don't know. We went from nothing to employing 150 people in about 8 or 9 years, and we had about 6 or 7 companies at the time, and it was hell on earth, to be frank. But we did all right. You know, it got us what we wanted in life at that stage. And then all of a sudden, one day, I sat there and I went, "This isn't getting us rich." No, to tell a lie, it was my business mentor. I was coming up with yet another idea about we'll create another production line and make money that way. And my business mentor said to me, he says, "All your ideas are good, Andy." He says, "They all lack one thing, though. They lack money." And I went, "Oh, right." And I sat there and I thought,
did he need money to put into the idea, or money, yes, or money out at the other end of the idea?
Capital investment at the start. That was always our problem. We were always over trading. You know, it was a non-stop thing. We went from literally nothing to a turnover of around 7 or 8 million, and we had I think we gave out credit of something like 70 days, and we had credit ourselves of about 8.25 hours, I think it was. So, in other words, we were so over trading. You know, it was just ridiculous, and so we were just going. It was hell. It was absolute hell. It was great fun, but it was hell as well.
Yeah, you said something very interesting earlier there about your business mentor. How did you find them? Was it an accident? Because I know a lot of people want a mentor but don't know how to go about finding one. How did you find yours, or did he find?
Well, he found out where he didn't. He owed somebody a favour, and the person he owed a favour said, "There's 2 lads in Worthing. They're really good people, but they lack business nous. So you owe me a favour. I want you to go down there and help them." And so he came down to see us, and of course we were close to having to liquidate the business because we were overtrading beyond belief. And he said, "Right, I'm going to help you." He says, "You're very good. You can buy, you can sell, but you can't add up. I'm going to teach you how to add up. And I was very nervous about this guy, and I thought,
But hang on, you'd been good at maths at school. What did he mean when he said that? He obviously didn't mean to add up.
there's maths and there's maths and there's accounting, and they're two totally different things. When you understand how cash flow works, how a balance sheet works, it changes things, because it's about the movement of money around the balance sheet is essential to know about. When you're in business, in my opinion, that way, I wouldn't even consider starting anything now, like we did in the old days. I would just, without having,
get it started.
I'd have the capital, then I'd have another 50% on top of the capital as a minimum, sitting there in the bank, ready to go day one. I wouldn't ever think about trying to do it any other way. But I think when you're young and you're stupid. I had a business expert come and see us once, and we were sitting in the factory, and we had this, fantastic production line that we built. And this business expert's going, "You're so brave." I said, "You know far more about business than I do. Why aren't you doing this?" He says, "Exactly. I know far more about business, and I know how impossible it is what you're doing." Yeah. He says, "Because you're ignorant of it, you're able to just go and do it." Yeah. And this is an important part of psychology. You have to know your limitations. We didn't know our limitations. And so, of course, that works very positively at times, but it can also work very negatively as well. So we got to experience the fun of it when we had boundless amounts of energy and drive. And in our youth, when you can make lots and lots of mistakes, and they're not really costly, are they? Because you've got lots of time to sort things out. When you're in your 20s, you're thinking, "God, I want to be retired when I'm 30," sort of thing. And of course, it's ridiculous to think that. But when you're in your 20s, that's one of those thoughts a lot of people have.
It seems like you have forever. Yeah. And so with your business mentor then, did you enter any sort of formal arrangement with him, or was it just, we'll have lunch once a month and I enjoy hanging out with you guys, and that's how it worked?
Yeah, we paid him for each day he came to see us, but it was a handshake. There wasn't, the best business arrangements I've had have always been handshakes, because people can choose to leave whenever they want. But most people in business would hate that sort of relationship. I love it, because it's people working on a handshake. I find them much more trustworthy.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. The manager of Dire Straits always worked on a handshake as well. Although we now know what we know about the music industry, it might not be a true story. But okay, so moving on. So what you had that epiphany that you weren't making any money and you weren't going to get rich with this. What happened then?
Well, I left. We finished lunch. We had a lovely lunch. I went away, and my partner says, "Yeah, we'll have to just curtail our thoughts on these new ideas of yours and that sort of thing." I said, "No, I'll go and figure out how to make us some money." It just so happened that the Sunday Times Rich List came out that week, and so I went up down the road, bought it, came up, and started looking through the Rich List. And I was amazed at, I can't remember the percentage, but it was a huge percentage of the people in the Sunday Times Rich List either made or retained their wealth in property. And so I then looked at what I'd got in property. And at the time, I'd kept the house I'd moved out of, and I'd moved into a bigger house. And I looked at what I'd made from property, and I thought, wow, I've made a fair bit of money from property. It's not just made, but retained a fair bit of money as well. And then I looked at the tax side of things, and I thought, this is quite advantageous tax-wise. And then I thought, right, okay, well, what do I need to do? Never read a self-help book or anything like that. But I thought, what do I need to do to figure out if there's an angle, if there's a way of making money on this? So I went away and started doing researching, and then the maths came into play. And I was able to sit back and look at all the property market values, and I tracked back, because my dad bought his house in 1971, and it was,
that one, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was he paid off the mortgage. Anyway, cleared it in 96, and at the time he could have paid off his mortgage with the cash he had in two different accounts, and so it was with either of those accounts to pay off the mortgage. And I thought, wow, so all that time he struggled on his capital and interest repayment throughout the time. And I thought, well, he really struggled. And I looked at how much mortgage he paid, and and that sort of thing over the time, and how much his interests were, and how much we had to curtail our life to pay his mortgage off, and that sort of thing. And I thought, this is ridiculous. The inflation is making property investment, basically, all you have to do is cash flow it. And if as long as you cash flow
No,
it,
you're going to have to slow down a bit for the benefit of me and our watchers.
okay,
So
right, okay,
let me just orientate myself. So when was this? When were you looking at property in this way?
2000, late part of 2001, early part of 2002. I spent about 8 weeks researching it, but I I put this spreadsheet together and I worked out that because of the way inflation worked, that property doubled every 6.74 years or whatever it was. And I thought, well, this is
And
great.
you work that out of yourself because it says it quite. And we'll come on to books in a minute, but it says it in quite a lot of property investment books. But you hadn't read any, and I know that because when I met you in 2003, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was 2003 we met.
Yeah,
No, tell a lie, it was 2004.
Yeah, 2004. That's
Yeah,
right.
because I met your sister in 2003 and she introduced you to us in 2004.
Yeah, and so I knew that you hadn't read any books, but so you literally worked it out. I mean, most people don't even know what inflation is in those days. So, we know what it is a bit more now, but most ordinary people don't. But
People don't understand is that
there was a thing called inflation, and that was what was causing property prices to rise constantly.
well, I always looked at it that if inflation was running at 5% and I was getting 2% interest in the bank, I was losing money. And so even though I couldn't see it, that I was losing the value of the purchasing value of my money.
Wow.
And looked at it and thought, if I can borrow money at, let's say, 5%, and the house appreciates at 11%, then all the money I'm borrowing, I'm making 6% on whatever I borrow. I thought, well, that's pretty good. So now it's a case of, well, I had to put the deposit down on the house, and it was like, right, okay, so I can only buy, let's say, £500,000 worth of property, but I'd make, I don't know, 6% on 400,000, 500,000, 450,000 a year.
This is a big one. So you figured out then, unlike most people, that you're going to make profit on the whole amount rather than just the amount you put in as a deposit.
Correct. Yeah, it's all about the total asset value. And so if I could make money on borrowing other people's money, that would make I'd be able to make a lot more money than I could on just investing my money. So the bank's money is my favourite money, of course, because it's the money you can get at the cheapest rate, or money a pleb like me could get at the cheapest rate. So I sat there and looked at it and I thought, right, okay, is there an angle? And I'd done this research and I'd worked out, and I had all the people in my factory floor, and I'd go around to them and said, when did you, Dad, because they all live locally, and I tested my house price calculator to when did your parents buy the house? Was it, they bought it in January? When did you actually move in? Oh, we didn't move in till June. Right. Okay. So you paid for it in January, price in January. And I'd say, was the purchase price this? And they go, how the hell did you know that? And I'd been able to work out what people who'd owned houses for 20, 30, 40 years, what they paid for them. I went around, I did this, I had 20 different people in my factories. I thought, this is interesting. I can tell what house the price will be. And then I thought, hang on a minute, why don't I run it in reverse? Why don't I see what the house prices are going to be, or what they should be? And I did that, and I suddenly realised that the property market was at an undervalue to...
it wasn't keeping up with what you projected it should be doing.
And I looked at it and went, there's at least a 30% lift due on properties in our area. I went and did all this research, and then I went and presented it at the boardroom, that sort of thing. We had our annual general meeting, and all the managers from the factories, our external auditors and our internal accountants, and my business partner and me were there. And at the end of the meeting, I said, yeah, I think that the property market is undervalued by 30% at least, and we should all stick as much money as we can into property. And of course, everyone more or less laughed at me. But fortunately, I'd done all my research in front of my wife, who was heavily pregnant with my daughter. She said, what did they all say? I said, they all laughed at me, thought I was nuts. And she says, oh, no, I think you're right. Go ahead, do it. Spend everything we've got. And so I did.
Not only had you worked out that it was undervalued in our area, but I was in the process of moving down from London, as were many, many other people, because London was going through a really bad crime wave. And just where my husband had grown up in London, and I loved living in London, but where we were in Kensal Rise, the next borough, or whatever it's called, up was Harlesden and Willesden, and there'd been 20 shootings in the previous year, and a child had been hit by a ricocheting bullet, and I said, that's it, I'm out of here. And so we moved down, as did many, many other people, to Brighton. And then our area, Worthing, got the donut effect. So there was a double whammy happening as well that you possibly did know about. Did you know that?
I didn't know that particular one, but I always assumed that people make money in one place and then they relocate to another place to get a better quality of life, better size property, whatever it was. And I knew that effect was going on, but I didn't know the exact reason why it was happening in London. But so anyway, I did it, went away the next day. So after following my wife's advice, I went out that morning and I bought a load of properties, and I reckoned I'd made about
a load of properties. What? Because you had a pot of money and you went and put deposits down on a few.
Yeah. It was. I estimated I'd made $250,000 that morning, and at the time my business partner and I were making about 300,000 a year, and I'd made $250,000 just on that. And I went back to the office and I showed him. I said, "Look, this is what I've made. I reckon I've made today." I said, "You've got one more chance. Do you want in on this or not?" And he went, "You're right. They're wrong. I'm in." Right. And that was it.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross of nicolacairnext.com. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show today. We've got lots of resources on the website, so do come over to check them out. And by all means, feel free to book yourself into my diary at nicolacairnext.com/diary. I love to talk to entrepreneurs.